All right, guys, please welcome to the stage Pat Watson with his lockpicking demonstration. Thank you.
Let's live. Morning, everybody. Morning. Thanks for coming. So we're going to do something unique here, which is what I do in the classes that we teach when we teach in-person classes. I don't know how many of you are familiar with bureaucracies or bureaucratic training, but maybe a nod of heads if you're familiar with. You show up and they go, here's all this exciting stuff, and then they start their PowerPoint, and then several hours later you're like, come on, can we go? Let's go. So two questions. Number one, who has never picked a lock open before? Show of hands. Cool. Now, of those people, if you're okay with being on camera here, who also wants to do that live for the first time? Okay, 1, 2, 3. You two and
me
and you.
Thank you.
Come on up, guys.
Yay.
Just take these first 3 seats. 1, 2, 3. And we're going to give you a quick crash course lesson while I teach, and then we're going to open up the floor for almost entirely Q&A on this topic. So if you guys have questions, start thinking of them and get them written down or saved up in your head. Take that, and you get the hard one. It's okay, Plutz, blab. So I've taught all around the country, all around the world. We taught special forces, first responders, police, fire, all those happy people. But I also love teaching just the public. And I wish there were a better name than just civilian. That kind of feels like dirty to me. I wish it was the important people of normal people. So we'll get you guys some tools. Take one of those. And one of those. You're all set. We'll give you a lesson on how to use those in just a second. You get one of those. And that should work. Sometimes it's a guessing game here. And one more. And one of those. Okay. Come on in, everybody. And I'm going to give you guys a quick demo, and you can just repeat after me step by step. Sure. So we teach people how to make emergency non-destructive entry in the real world, which is very different than sitting at your desk and picking open a lock. So for us, because we're able to do this in an administrative capacity first, if we look at that keyway, it's kind of like a Pac-Man. The top part is covered by this brass, and the bottom part of your keyway is open and flush, and that's where the smooth part of the key would go. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So if it's like this, we call that upside down, and that's right side up. Okay. So put that whole thing in your left hand and squeeze it like you're making a little...
I'm a lefty.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
We're going to do it both ways.
Okay, cool.
Then you take your little bent tool, that's a tension wrench. Good plus, good black. That goes flush on the bottom and out to the right at around the 3 o'clock position. Then I'm going to put one finger on that little guy.
Yes, no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Awesome. Looks beautiful. Now we're going to take that little squiggly guy. That's what we call a rake tool. Kind of like a mountain peak. There's little M's on it. Good plots, good block. That's okay. That's fine. Perfect. That goes in above your tension wrench. And you're going to do 2 things. You're going to keep light pushing pressure with this finger. And you're going to go in and out and up and down with your rake. So those are the only 2 variables that you have to manage. Jackpot. Man. And 2. Waiting on 2 more. Cool, that was fast. How many seconds? Anybody counting? From when I said go? Less than 5 seconds. Cool. Close it and then repeat it again. And you just do that on repeat. Come on in, take a seat, everybody.
You got any extra locks?
You can try that one right there. You'll have to shut it first. Good plus, good blab. So for those of you that are just showing up, we just did a quick crash course. I spent about 60 seconds teaching how to use this in a very basic technique, and we got our first couple entries right away. So keep trying with that, and I'll coach you as we go if you're struggling. And you can co-teach each other, so if you got it, you can give her some pointers. Yes, switch locks, perfect. So I'm Pat Watson. I am a lockpicking instructor. I know, kind of weird, right? So I travel the world, I teach courses, I have books published, I have video courses published, I have a long-running podcast, YouTube channel, website, all that stuff. I also do the dog training with, I run a franchise for Fortress Canine, who's over there, who you can come say hi to. And this is Arrow. She's a service dog. She's working, so please don't steal her from me while she's on the clock. That's it. That's my quick intro. We did a live lesson, which I'm going to continue to coach you guys as we talk. But we're going to open up the floor almost primarily here for Q&A. So first questions for lockpicking or bypassing or covert entry or spy stuff. Let's go.
All right, so I got into lockpicking about a year ago.
Uh-huh.
And I started off with a Polaris by Dangerfield.
Okay.
And I switched over to covert instruments. And somebody recently mentioned sparrows. What brands do you prefer?
Sure. I'll repeat the question. So he said, what brands of lockpicking tools do I prefer? The short answer is, I use whatever works for me, and you need to use whatever works for you. And that's because even if you have the perfect set that opens up a lock really well, you can hand that same lock to me and that same set to me, and I might struggle.
Okay.
So it's a very personal preference on this stuff. The long answer is, the lockpicking world, if you're interested in getting started here, it's a hot mess when it comes to the tools and the marketing and the intentional lies or lies by omission. So here's what you don't need. If you go online and you see lockpicking set 100 pieces for $300, not true. Just skip it. We have some tools over there for sale, but I don't care if you buy your tools from me or someone else. We're interested in the passion of forwarding this craft. Not a lot of people teach this stuff in the US, and the few people that do teach it, they don't all teach it publicly to open enrollment to the public, and I do. So what you need is maybe a $25 tool set that's just 2 small tools to get started. And that will open up probably 80% of every door and every padlock that you put your hands on throughout the day. It's amazing.
Tools that you gave them, basically?
Yeah, and there's variations on it. So we need one tool to spin the plug of a keyway. That's where the key goes. So we spin that keyway, and the next tool goes in and in any sort of random way just kind of moves those pins inside the lock. Because of a tolerance problem in the manufacturing with padlocks and door locks, you're in the hacker mindset. So you're playing the lock against itself. In normal machining, you have input A into machine gives you output A. What we do in lockpicking and bypassing and non-destructive entry, what we do is we try to do everything but input A, which would be the right key, the right code, to get output A. So can we use input B to somehow get output A? No. Okay, how about input C? No. What about B and C together? Oh yeah, we got it. So that's the way our brains work here. It's very different. It's not very rigid. It's very quantum. You have to stop thinking about getting the machine to do the right thing. It's getting the machine to do the wrong thing that we're trying to do. So I'll breathe for a second. I could go nonstop. Next question.
How long does it take to become proficient?
Great question. Yes, I've done a couple podcast episodes, the hours in depth on that question. And the question was, how long does it take to become proficient? First subjective term is proficient. So proficient for me might be different than proficient for you. But what I do say is, we have a 2-day lockpicking course. At the end of that course, my students are operators in the field making entry to save lives. So 2 hardcore days, you can nail it. But if you spend 15 minutes a day, 7 days a week, you can open up probably 50% of all the low security padlocks that you see every day. So very fast onboarding. And this is a concept I like to tell my students, which is this skill set has a low barrier to entry. So you saw right away you can start getting entries, but a very high ceiling to really crank up that percentage of likelihood that you're going to be able to get into that lock. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Floor's wide open, folks. Yes, green shirt. YouTube channel. I have one. Most of that is my podcast episodes. We're building that up right now. Uncensored Tactical, that's the name of the company. On all the platforms, that's what we are. We have some video content, but we're in a different world. So that's a popularity and marketing world. And we like teaching, and we put some teaching content there. But we spend a lot of our time behind the scenes writing books, teaching courses, designing curriculum, and we care very much for the craft. So for our courses that we teach, every 1 hour of instruction that our students get, we spend maybe 30 or 40 hours behind the scenes filtering and framing how to present that information the best way possible. lab. Let me do a little coaching here live. Any success yet?
I can't open anything.
I can
That's
open
okay.
that one.
Cool, that's great. Let's switch it up. We're gonna do, I got my
I
tools
don't
with
even
me.
know how to hold it.
It's okay.
Okay.
You can just wing it. That's what the professionals do. We just wing it.
And a high frustration point is pretty common.
Yes, it is very frustrating, but it's also, it's kind of like your dopamine hit is, oh my God, I was frustrated for so long and then I got it. And that's what that the repeatability gives you.
I'm staring at you. Can I use your tool?
Here, let's try this. We're gonna take this little guy.
Okay.
This is a different tool. This is kind of a bypass technique. So instead of trying to hack this machine and to trick those pins into staying where they're supposed to at the perfect height, we're gonna take all the pins way out of the way. This tool is designed to lift all those pins up. And you lift and rotate.
Oh, that's a key.
It's like, yeah, it's like a master key. Yeah.
So would you judge that by the length of the lock?
Those tool selections, that tool requires a little bit of background knowledge to know where you're going to apply it at.
Yeah.
And they also have a concept that we use called irretrievability, meaning some tools that you put into a lock or into a door frame or under a door, some of them can become stuck and you just can't get them out. You have to take the machine apart to get it out. So those tools are like that. So I don't shove, that's a comb tool, like you comb your hair, comb tool. I don't put those into a lock unless I'm pretty sure that they're going to work for that specific make and model. So a lot of this is a percentage game. So when I attack a target and I go, hey, I need to get into that big building, it's not linear. I don't go to the first point and go, make it happen. I have so many decisions to make that my brain turns like Rain Man and numbers flash across my head and I go, some of the first two things I need for every entry, because we teach real world entry. First two things are, do I have the moral right to make entry? I don't even care about the legal side. Am I doing what's right as a human? Am I going in there to help someone? Is there someone, do I have the owner with me and they're just locked out? So I figure out, is this the right thing to do? If no, I don't do it. If yes, I move on. The other one is, it's very unlikely that you'll be making entry somewhere and not know how fast you have to go. So it's usually, hey, I'm locked out and I have to get to work. Okay, well, you're the owner and work is the timeline, so you'd like to not be late to work, but you're not gonna die if we don't get in quick. Okay, so I have the moral right to make entry and I have the speed requirement. So if I'm making entry onto this building, I go, do I have those two things? Yep, it's just a simple lockout, so there's no rush, and we have the moral right to make entry because we have the owner. Then I go, where's my first possible spot that I can make non-destructive entry? Oh, at that door. Okay, great. As I'm walking up to the door, I go, what are my known attack vectors? Can I pull the hinge pins out of the hinge? Can I slide a shim down the door frame and affect that latch? Can I go under the door? Can I pick the keyway? Is there a code on it? And I do all these things really quickly. If one of them screams to me, hey, this will take you 10 seconds or less, I try that one. If I go, there's kind of some good options, then I walk around the building and I look for my next entry point. And I go, ooh, there's a window. Well, I don't have a ladder, but if I can get a ladder, I'll bring it back and I'll just see if I can slide that window open on the second floor. Okay, great. And then I go to the next door and the next door, and then my brain kind of works in like a decision-making matrix where what tools do I have available? What tools can I go get? How quickly can I use those tools? And it's just non-stop decision-making. And I love it, it's really fun, but it's exhausting too. I mean, so much happens up here. Yes, it's a physical game you play, but when you're making entry for an operation or an emergency, the thought is up, it's all up here, all the hard work. Let me breathe. Who else? Questions?
Is it the same on a house or a padlock as it is on a car?
Sure.
For instance, kids in the back seat or something?
I'm going to break that up into two questions. So question one, I'm going to say picking a padlock and a door lock, are they the same? The Venn diagrams are very close, lots of overlap. Next question, kid locked in a car. I teach non-destructive entry, but I'm very pro-destructive entry when it's reasonable and required. So if there's a child in a car with their hair on fire, I smash the window, I take them out. That's your two questions. Let me do a little more coaching. Any luck here on the side? You got one of them open, not the other. Any luck yet?
Nothing.
Let me teach you.
Nothing. I don't even, I guess I don't get it. I don't know what I'm trying to manipulate. I'm just shoving.
That's all right. Shoving's fine. I'll teach you how to shove better. Give me 1 second.
Would you please?
Nothing wrong with that.
All right.
So first up, we're going to switch tools. Sometimes it's the tool. So this guy should work. This guy
Yeah.
we're going to get rid of.
I don't like him at all. Yeah, I want a squiggle one.
You get a
Thank
squiggle one.
Thank you, Betsy.
Put that back in your left hand,
Yeah.
like that. Open up your pointer finger. Close everything around it.
Okay.
Close everything, make a fist. And then open this one up.
This one?
hmm
Okay.
We're going to put that flush in the bottom of the keyway.
Can you get it, babe?
Yeah, we're going to relax that grip a little bit. And you're going to push down kind of on the end of that tension wrench with your pointer finger.
Okay.
Like you're trying to twist the keyway. Perfect. That guy goes in above that, like a toothbrush, in and out,
All
up and
the
down.
way to the, like you want me to snug it up top, or does
That's
it
just
matter?
all the way in,
Just
doesn't matter. And then rock it like a seesaw, in and out, up and down like a toothbrush. And watch your first finger here. Push down on that tension wrench, nice and easy,
Okay.
and continue moving that rake tool. In and out, up and down.
In and out?
In and out, both, yeah.
I ain't got much action. Oh wait, so it's falling on me.
That's okay.
I'm so left-handed, finally.
Hey, you got it. Success. All right, so we're 3 for 3. 100% success rating today.
I have to do it again. That was a fluke.
Yes.
Okay.
And here's a different tool. If you guys want to just see what a different tool feels like. So this is what we call lock personality. Use this one right here. So a question we get a lot is, I can open this padlock, but not that one. What gives? Over here, Plutz. Slide. And it's tough because there's not a lot of repeatability. So earlier we talked about you could give me a tool and I could fail with it. So you can pick open the same lock with the same tools right back to back, one after another. And the first time it'll take you 5 seconds. The second time it'll take you an hour. It's just the weird, that's okay, leave it, Plutz. It's just the weird nature of this game because we are hacking. It's not a machine that we put the same input into and get the same output out of. Next question, any topic? Yes?
What brand lock do you say, oh no, not that?
In what context? Oh no.
Well, like a padlock. I mean, what harder to fit? Yeah. Oh, context is, dang, that's going to be hard to get.
Oh, great question. I'll repeat it for the mic.
Okay.
So what lock do I see when I go, oh no, that's outside my skill range? The most common for doors would be a keyway that has a lot of zigzags. They call that paracentric keyway, meaning the zigzag goes across the center line, across the center line, across the center line. It makes it tough to get your tools in. So if I look at that keyway and it's extra zigzaggy, that's bad for me. And in a commercial facility, you can almost tell by the finishing of the front of the lock if it's been highly machine manufactured and polished or if it's just been punched out in China. So most residential doors, almost all of them in the US, are just crap locks punched out in China. Even the ones that you get at Home Depot that say $100 special, non-pickable, they're garbage.
You got any brand names you like?
Yeah. I think ABUS, ABUS, I'm not sure of the pronunciation, but they have a couple locks that are high security, and they're a different type of key than the standard. So even if you know how to pick locks, you probably can't open that unless you have gone secondary, tertiary down the line of learning different skills and techniques in the game. Let's take a break. Next question. Wide open.
Keys.
I'm sorry?
Round keys.
Round keys.
Yeah. Ever play with those at all?
I'm not sure what you mean by round keys.
Well, they're, like you see my soda machines quite often.
Yes, tubular keyways.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're called barrel keys, tubular keys. I have one of those tools that I have carried in my kit for about 10 years, and I've used it 0 times. And that's not because it's not a useful tool. They're common on things that don't require emergency access, like a vending machine or a safe or something like that. So you can completely get into those tools, through those locks. But my need and my framing for how I teach this technique is for an emergency. So that doesn't take up a lot of my brain space. No one's ever come to me and said, oh my God, there's an emergency, I need to get into my safe. I just go, okay, we'll call a safe guy, or get your power tools out. The one exception to that is when I was active in local law enforcement, I was worried about things like protesters. Protesters love bicycle locks. So something like that, a lot of times they'll use bicycle locks and attach their bodies to each other or to different pieces of infrastructure. So instead of taking these huge jaws from the fire department or from some rookie cop and go clunk right up against someone's neck, I could just walk up and go, okay, let me get my tubular pick. You're open. So that was something I was prepared for, but it's not a lock that I commonly have to access for an emergency or an operation. Do you have a question earlier? Lockpicking question?
Actually, the automotive question was the one that I had, was what was the functionality for being, if somebody locked their, not an emergency situation, but
Yeah.
I've had situations where employees have locked themselves out of their vehicle and we're taking wood wedges and trying
Yeah.
to jimmy the door out enough to get a hold of the knob to pop it. Well, the rental car that we drove in doesn't have the knob.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't physically make entry with the knob on the inside. You would have to push the button. But is there a functional way to enter that vehicle without damaging the vehicle?
Yeah.
Is where I was going before.
I'll repeat it for the mic. So a question about vehicle entries. Best way to get in for non-destructive entry besides damaging the car and kind of ripping the door frame from the door. I do teach a lot of automobile entries. There's two primary methods I use for that. One is on the top corner of either the driver or the passenger door, we shove in a thin airbag and we blow up that airbag a little bit and it pushes the door from the frame. And we shove in a long reach tool. It's basically a semi-rigid piece of metal. You can sometimes bend them a little bit, but not too much. And that metal slides in through the door, between the door and the frame. And it can affect one of any number of targets. So it can pull a lock latch up, it can pull a handle, it can press a button, it can roll the windows down with the window down button. But every make and model of vehicle is so different from one another that I can't just say, press that button. It's, here's how you get in, but then you have decisions to make.
But the lock itself.
The lock itself?
A lot of doors, and that's the thing about autos, is a lot of now they don't have the key entry option.
Yeah, so the key entry option is going away for vehicles.
Yeah.
It's not entirely gone on new cars. There's usually one keyway somewhere on the car, either the driver or the passenger door. And if you have a key fob, there's usually a key inside of it, you just don't know it. So you can take your key fob apart and there's a key in there. Not always, but sometimes. And vehicle keyways can be picked open, just like we taught you guys. It's a really similar method. You're applying tension and then you're feeling your way through. But it's so specific to makes and models. There's sheets and sheets and sheets of data on vehicles on locksmith websites, and some of them you can plug and play, where you go, I need a tool for this vehicle. Punch in year, punch in make, punch in model, and we'll tell you what tools are available for it. So it's very unique to makes and models of cars.
Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Take a drink. How you guys doing up here in the front? Any success yet?
I got this one open.
Yes. You got one open. Cool. We're learning. So this is what I do for a living. We bring people from 0 up to 100% field operational in our 2-day foundational course. We also teach a covert entry operations course, which is pretty unique. We go out at nighttime and we do hits on commercial facilities, and we're taking photos of a key on someone's belt and then decoding that photo with a program and finding out the signature of the key and then punching out the key, returning the next night and breaking in and getting the files and breaking out, all with consent in a war game scenario with permission. But it's super sneaky stuff. It's super, the regular lockpicking and bypassing is incredibly useful. I'm super pro gun, I'm super pro self-defense, super pro human rights, awesome, I love it all. Just mathematically, if you were to spend $1,000 on a rifle course, and then 6 months later take that same course, and then 6 months later take a new rifle course, you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars on something that, if you never have to shoot someone, not morally, but mathematically, your return on investment is negative, it's 0. With this skill set, if you learn how to pick one lock with one tool, you will forever have a positive return on investment, whether the gunfight happens or not. So we teach people the emergency stuff, which is, hey, time is kind of a factor here. We need to go quick, but we can't go destructive yet. That's where we live. But even when we get locked out for, oh no, we're gonna be late to work. Okay, well, let me get my tools. Like, we can breathe. So let's do some more math. That skill set you guys just learned, if you have those tools handy and you're locked out of somewhere and you're able to open that lock, if you don't have to call a locksmith, you already win because you're saving time for calling them, having them respond, and having them do something. You're already saving money because almost any time you call a locksmith to you, you're looking at $100 minimum out the door, gone. The other problem is, in the same way that mechanics can do predatory mechanic stuff, where you show up and you know nothing about cars, and they go, well, you need a new engine and a new belt and a new tire, and you're like, I guess I'll pay for it. Not that all mechanics do that, but it is something that does happen. Same thing here. You don't need to be a certified, qualified locksmith to take this lock and key system into your life and take control of it. And then the first time you do need to call a locksmith, maybe it's out of your control. Maybe it's a lock that you just can't pick, but you do need a locksmith. Well, now when he shows up and he goes, oh, I'm just going to drill the core out, and you'll buy a new lock from me, and then you'll have to pay for the drill bit. You can go, no, do you have a shim? Because I know that you can shim that latch. I just don't have a shim. And they can go, ooh, crap. And you can prevent yourself from being preyed upon if you have at least some of the right knowledge. So it's saving time, saving money, preventing yourself from getting taken advantage of. And then you can upgrade your security too. Because as soon as you know, oh, I was able to bypass this door because of this huge gap in the frame. Well, if we close that gap, it makes it much more difficult to get in. So the backside, of course, is your upgraded security. Let me breathe for a second. Does anyone know how we're doing on time?
About 7 minutes.
Beautiful, thank you. Any other questions? Floor's wide open. Yes?
Combination locks.
Awesome. The first book that we published, Tactical Lockpicking, Volume 1, there's an entire chapter devoted to that. Actually, 2. One is a physical decoding, where kind of like a safecracker, you're using a tool to feel for the code. The other side is code breaking, so we're figuring out the number side of the code. And we have an entire skill set lesson dedicated to that in depth, which is you can start by looking at, if it's a mechanical lock and you have 4 digits on it, you go, oh, what are those digits? Okay, well, what address are we at? If they're 1 apart, maybe I'll try that. If we're at 9999 First Street and the lock says 9990, I go, oh, let me dial that back 1. Good chance we're on target. And you can do a lot of things down that path. So I love that. That's my favorite nerd thing to do. We have an entire book coming out just on code breaking. So that will be happening in the future. Any other questions? I think we're about close to wrapping up.
Where do you hold classes? What part is it?
We're able to teach anywhere around the country. But for now, we're sending people to us primarily. We have a new training facility out in rural Georgia, right in the middle of Georgia, kind of by Macon. So we're trying to bring people to us now. It's a lot more beneficial. And we're very excited about that. Anything else? Wide open. If you have questions, you just can't think of them yet, or if we're short on time, come visit us. We'll be at the Fortress K9 booth all weekend. And we'll be doing some pop quiz training sessions on the fly. So we'll get you to open up some padlocks and some door locks. We'll teach you, we'll talk to you, and we'll send you where you want to go to get the best information. Thanks so much for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Blab.
Not even a little bit.
Come out here. Just go back to you?
Yep, I'll take it for me, and you guys can go get back to doing what you need to do.
Cool, thank you.
Of course, man. Thanks for coming out.